5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action!
So our friend here has a podcast. What is the name of your podcast?
My podcast is called Time Personified.
Time Personified. Where can we see it?
Anywhere that you would find a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher.
So when it comes to astrology, I'm thinking zodiac.
Yeah, the zodiac is the band of constellations around the solar system. So there are 12 constellations. And that's the ones, like if somebody asks you, what is your sun sign or what is your star sign, it's going to be one of those constellations. That's what the zodiac is.
How did you get into astrology?
So I've always been a very spiritually minded person. And it was actually just like over a year ago that I've always been really into dream work. And I started having like really vivid, intense dreams about the planets. And then that
Wow.
it led me to like looking up their meanings and stuff. And then it was like a snowball. And it became a passion of mine very quickly.
Cool. Now, just to double check, what is dream work? Is that right?
Yeah, so dream work is, you can do it from like a psychological perspective or like a spiritual perspective. It's where you really analyze your dreams and you look for meaning within them and like find ways to like reveal themes and stuff in your life that can help you develop spiritually and personally.
What was the moment that made you want to find answers within DreamWorks?
I don't even know if it was like one specific moment. I think it's just, I've always been a very vivid dreamer. And, you know, when you're somebody, like, it's not everyone who experiences that, who has like really vivid, intense dreams that they remember for days and days afterwards. And then, so when you're experiencing something like that, you just want to like dig more into them and think more about them. So it was kind of just, it's a part of who I am. So, yeah.
Good. Now, I don't know about the viewers at home, but I, at one point in my life, kept a dream diary. All right, so I don't have it with me. That's probably a good thing. Anyway, I had this dream diary, and the practice is you wake up, and whatever dream you have to remember your dream before it erases, and you have to write it down. Did you ever try anything like that?
Oh yeah, I have many dream journals. I actually still keep one. It's kind of mixed in with my regular journal because I'm a prolific journaler, but I write down my dreams often. You know, usually like I try to in the morning, but usually if I remember my dream throughout the day, then that is like a cue that I need to like write it down.
Oh wow, wow. How have you ever had a moment in your life where you realize you forgot the dream, but you don't remember the dream, you just know you forgot it?
Oh, totally. And yeah, there's so many experiences like that where you remember the emotions of the dream, but like you don't remember like why what the events were, or
Moving from DreamWorks into your passion of astrology, you have this podcast, many episodes, lots of content. What kind of things can we pull out of your episodes? Like, what have you got?
Yeah, so the foundation of my podcast is astrology, and I really follow astrology with it. It follows the lunar cycles. Like, I'll release a new episode every full and new moon, or when there's a significant event astrologically, and I use it to make sense of history and current events. And I'm really into like social justice and things that are really prevalent for humanity, and that's all encompassed in my podcast.
Okay, so not to be weird enough, just to challenge you on this point. How does, not to be laughing, sorry folks, how does astrology link to social injustice?
Astrology is, in its essence, a language. So just like English, French, Chinese, like you can use it to talk about anything. Astrology is a language of archetypes and energies. So we can use those to make sense of ourselves, and then also to make sense of really big things. That the reason archetypes even exist is because our psyche is so intense that like our minds can only comprehend it if they make up stories about it.
Make up what?
make up stories and narratives about it. So if you're able to apply archetypes and themes to something, you're able to distill it into a solvable problem or something that you can wrap your head around. And so, yeah.
Okay. At this juncture, it sounds like you're saying that astrology helps give us narratives that help us make sense of the world. So, in the year 2020, what does it look like today, or what do you think? What's going on?
I mean, there's like a million ways I could answer this question, so I can pick one example here. 2020, if anybody's interested in like looking deeper into it, it's a year that astrologers have been talking about for decades nearly.
I didn't know that.
It's a really, like, there's a lot of really big planetary alignments that are happening this year, and I mean, look at what 2020 has been so far. Like, there has been like a war between. Well, I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about politics.
Yeah,
and you asked me not to talk about politics, so
go on.
I just shouldn't do that. But yeah, like, look at what 2020 has been already. One example that I can pull out is the coronavirus. We're all freaking out about this virus that doesn't have a cure, and like people are dying. And one of the things that's really scary about it is that there's a lot of misinformation going around.
Yeah.
So to relate this back to astrology, I'm going to talk about the lunar nodes. So nodes,
Did you say lunar notes or
lunar
nodes?
So it's spelled Nodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what they are is they are points in the moon's orbit where eclipses happen. So we can predict an eclipse by if a full or a new moon occurs like within a few degrees of these nodes, that's when an eclipse happens. And the nodes shift every year. And this year they're going to be shifting into Gemini and Sagittarius, which that's the axis of truth. Like every astrology sign has an opposite. So like there's an axis. So like I'm an Aquarius, the opposite of that is Leo. The opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius, and so forth and so forth.
Okay.
And the nodes always, the eclipses are always happening in opposite signs. And what the Gemini Sagittarius eclipses are teaching us is like, how do we distinguish from the truth that other people are giving us and what the actual truth is? We're learning how to trust ourselves and trust our own minds in a world where there's a lot of information floating around. That's one example of astrology being applied to everyday life in the world.
Nice. I have seen before somebody might say something like, "Oh, you're into astrology. Tell me, what star sign am I?" You know, and it's like, well, how does that work? Is it as easy to say? How does it work? I mean, can you guess?
I have guessed accurately before, but it's a lot more complicated than just what your sun sign is.
Okay.
So I actually do astrology readings for clients, and what I do is I pull up the entire chart, and I have to know the date, time, and location of your birth as exact as possible. So I look at what constellation was rising over the eastern horizon, what was setting when you were born. Where is every single planet in the sky? Is the planet visible or not? Because sometimes the planets go through phases where they're visible in the night sky, sometimes they're in the underworld phase and they're not visible. And all of that is going to factor into like who you are as an energy. So if I'm trying to like guess your zodiac sign, I might end up guessing your rising sign because that's the energy you're giving me. But I might not actually see what your sun sign is if I don't know you very well.
Just to be clear, star signs of the zodiac can be indicative of your personality. Is this true?
Yes, that's how a lot of people apply astrology, is that they, not only the sign that the sun was in when you were born, which is your star sign, but where every single planet is. So you have a sun sign, a moon sign, a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, and all of those are going to have some kind of impact on your personality. Like where Venus is how you give and receive love. Where Jupiter is how you like to learn and expand. Whereas like your sun is your essence, your moon is your heart. I could go on.
Okay, so is it possible, I'm just asking, is this how it works? Does every human, just say hypothetically, sun sign, moon, Jupiter, Mars. Just keep it simple for the minute for me, because I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Okay. Does each have a coordinate? Do they have like a number? Is there a code?
So the way it works is that when you lay out an astrology chart, we put Earth in the center. Astrologers, we know that the Earth is not the center of the solar system, but it is the center of it's humanity is at the center of astrology. We're the ones experiencing it, so we put Earth in the center, and then there's a circle. An astrology chart is a circle, and every single constellation, every zodiac sign gets 30 degrees. So the planets are in one of those degrees for wherever they are in the sky. Like your Venus may be at 15 degrees of Pisces, and your Moon is at 12 degrees of Gemini, and so forth.
Cool. That's really cool. Okay. So I'll tell you. I would like to tell you my star sign, and you can tell me something about me, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Totally.
Okay. Number one, what star sign do you think I am? In all fairness.
Okay. So we just recently met, and what I've noticed about you is that you're very talkative and you're very social, and you have this whole show about speaking to people and ideas. So I would guess that you're maybe one of the air signs. Like maybe an Aquarius. You actually remind me of one of my friends who's an Aquarius, so I might lock that in as my guess.
My star sign is Virgo.
You're a Virgo, okay. And yeah, Virgo is a Mercury-ruled sign, so that's still, Mercury is the god of communication and language. So.
Oh, wow.
So, kind of got it, but yeah. Cool,
yeah, indeed. Thank you so much. Well done. Tell me 5 things about Virgo that I don't know.
Okay, I'm not sure what you actually know, but Virgos are very meticulous and organized people. They're very good at seeing details, and they're really good at seeing imperfections and wanting to adjust things that are imperfect. So one of the things a Virgo might struggle with is perfectionism and overthinking. But they're very detail-oriented, organized, amazing people. I love Virgos.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. Tell me now, how can we use astrology? Can we use astrology? Because you mentioned there's a spirituality side to astrology. Does that mean can it help us connect with nature and our environment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the things that I'm really passionate about with astrology. Astrology is a spiritual path. It's not a science in the way that modern society would dub it. It's spiritual. Obviously, astrology connects us back to nature because it is nature. The stars and the planets, they are nature, and we live in these industrialized societies, and we've got artificial light around us all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a time when humans lived in harmony with the changing of lights. As the seasons would change, the way that we would move through our days would change. We would be in rest during the winter time, and we would be planting seeds during the springtime, and harvesting in the fall, and so forth. And most humans don't live like that anymore. And same with day and night. We used to, fall asleep when the sun went down and rise when the sun came up. But industrialization and the invention of artificial light, the creation of the regular workday, took that away from us. So we're really disconnected from the rhythms of nature, and astrology is this blueprint, it's a map that can help us find our way back to the way that our species and our bodies are designed to operate, because we're one with the earth. We're supposed to be moving with the seasons of the earth.
Yeah. Tell me if I have this wrong, okay? Am I right in saying that, this is how I looked at it anyway, spring is birth, summer is teenage years, autumn is old age, and then winter would be death, and then the cycle kind of goes on. Is that right? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really important about that is that it's a cycle. And that's another thing that astrology can really offer us right now, is that it can take away our fear of getting older and of dying. As a society, we have this obsession with youth, and we have this fear of old age and of death. And it's because we're so disconnected from nature that we forget that cycles are always going in circles. Even the cycle of a human life, like you get older and your body dies, but then you become fertilizer, and then you become you end up being a part of another life form, right? Nothing really dies, and I think astrology brings us back to that truth.
Fantastic. Now, for those that might find taking a dip into this intimidating or whatever, what would your advice be for the rest of us that want to find out more?
Okay, so what's really important to remember about astrology is that the purpose is to validate your intuition. You are the person who knows best. So the purpose of astrology is, I'm feeling like my life is headed in this direction. I'm feeling like this is important for me. And then you look at the astrology to validate that. Every astrology client that I've had has been coming to me for that purpose. So if you're intimidated about getting into astrology, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to learn. There's a lot of different archetypes and things to remember. Start with one. I would even suggest start with working with the lunar cycle. The moon is really easy to spot in the sky. You can look up and you can say, okay, look, it's a waxing crescent, or it's a full moon. Like, you can see it. You can see very clearly the moon going through her phases.
Oh, yeah,
so start by following that.
Oh, cool. That's fantastic. Like, that's all we have time for. Tell me, where do we find you?
Time Personified is my podcast.
Time Personified, available at all good podcast online stores. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful conversation, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I'm not here to waste it. Have a safe journey home, and may your God or your gods go with you. Thank you so much.